Hi, welcome to Firewall Life YouTube channel. Today I'm going to demonstrate you how to implement BGP using Palo Alto firewalls. Because I think sometimes you may know BGP, sometimes you may not. I think it's better if I can give you some kind of idea about BGP before starting configurations. BGP is one of the mostly used routing protocol in the internet, and we can take BGP as the integral part of internet, because normally ISPs use BGP in order to exchange routes between them. Here I'm planning to configure BGP in Palo Alto firewalls by exchanging routes and by tweaking best path using BGP attributes, and there are so many things to be demonstrated. So let's get started. Here my plan is to implement BGP routing protocol using 3 Palo Alto firewalls. I have already implemented 3 Palo Alto firewalls here. This is remote, this is one firewall, and second one is PA1 and third one is PA2. In this scenario we have already connected via IPSec tunnels. So that means my plan is to peer these PA1 and PA2 Palo Alto firewalls with the remote firewall using BGP routing protocol. Okay, so I think it's better if I can give you a clear diagram about the BGP configuration, because otherwise you don't have any idea what I'm going to do. So let's start MS Paint. Here I'm going to draw a diagram. Here I have my remote firewall. This is the remote firewall. It's remote. Here I have PA1. This is PA1, and here I have PA2. These are the 3 firewalls I have, and behind the remote firewall I have the virtual machine implemented. This is a VM, and also here also I have a VM behind these 2 firewalls, PA1 and PA2 is also VM. And I have already created 2 IPSec tunnels between remote firewall and PA1 and PA2. These are the IPSec tunnels. These are IPSec tunnels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peer these 3 firewalls using BGP. Here BGP will be implemented through the IPSec tunnels. So let's say, for example, let's say this path, change the color. Give me one moment. Okay, let's say this path is the primary. We can make it primary by tweaking BGP attributes. So I'll show how to do it. So in this scenario, since this is the primary path, so traffic initiated from the VM will be sent to the remote firewall. From the remote firewall itself, it will be sent to the PA1. From the PA1, it will be sent to the VM. But here sometimes you may have a question. You may ask me how the return traffic would reach the PA1 or PA2, because there are 2 firewalls. When it comes to VM, there should be a default gateway. Default gateway should be a 1 IP address. VM cannot have 2 IP addresses as default gateways. So here what I'm going to do is, according to my topology, I'm going to do a tweak here. So that is, I'm going to source NAT this traffic into this this interface, this firewall interface. I'm going to source NAT. So when the traffic reaches the VM machine or the virtual machine sees that the traffic is originated from the Palo Alto firewall itself, since I'm source netting the traffic into the Palo Alto firewall, this interface. So then the virtual machine will return the traffic to the PA1. This is the return traffic. So let's use some other color in order to understand easily. This is a return traffic in green color. The return traffic will be sent back to the PA1 firewall. From the PA1 firewall, it will be sent back to the remote firewall. From the remote firewall, it will be sent back to the virtual machine. So let's say if we want to make this as this path primary or the best path, so we can tweak BGP attributes in order to make this path the primary. So in such a scenario, traffic will be sent out to the Palo Alto 2 firewall. So that is my plan. I think you have got some kind of a clear idea what I'm going to do. So let's move into the configurations right now. Okay, let's start the configurations. First we have to move to network tab. From the network tab you can find virtual routers. In virtual routers we have default virtual router. In default virtual router we must move into BGP section. In BGP section, first we have to enable the BGP routing protocol, and then we have to use the router ID. I think this router ID is just an identifier, so I'm going to use my tunnel interface IP 10.0 as I remember 10.0.11, and third option is ACE number, autonomous system number. When it comes to autonomous system numbers, there are two types. First one is public and second one is private. Since we are having the private network, we are going to use autonomous system numbers, which would be a private one. So normally autonomous systems private numbers are starting from 64,512. So I'm using the initial AS number, and then I have to go to peer groups. In peer groups, I'm going to create a new peer group. Let's say peer group, and we have two options. We can use either eBGP or IBGP. eBGP means exterior border gateway protocol, IBGP is interior border gateway protocol. If you are using all the routers in the same autonomous systems number, so that means IBGP. Here for this demonstration I'm using IBGP, but here I'm not going to explain all the theories about BGP routing protocol, but I'm planning for a video or the demonstration that explains all the mandatory theories about BGP routing protocol. So I'm simply going to select IBGP as a routing protocol, and I'm going to create a peer. Let's say PA1, that is our first peer. The peer A is also the 64,512. Since we are using IBGP, the peer A should be the same. Okay, and the interface would be my tunnel interface, and the IP address is this, and the peer address is as I remember 10.0.12. okay, here we don't have to configure any other options for our requirement. Clicking OK. So then I'm going to click OK for this as well. Okay, and next options would be import, export, and redistribution rules, but I think it's better if we can establish the peer relationship or the neighbor relationship with the PA1 Palo Alto firewall first. That is important. So first configure PA1 with the basic configurations, and then only we can move into import, export and redistribution rules, because those are important in this scenario. So I'm clicking OK. I'm going to commit it right now. I'm waiting for the commit to be done. While waiting for the commit to be done, so I think we can discuss about BGP routing protocol more, because I think BGP routing protocol is the slowest protocol in the world, because it is by design. Because when it comes to internet, there are hundreds of thousands of networks. Those networks are getting down and up and down in each second. I mean, for a given second, there can be hundreds of networks are going down. So in that scenario, if the BGP routing protocol is going to advertise all those updates as the incident occurred, so it can be a problem. So because of that, by design, BGP routing protocol is slow, because it is not going to advertise the updates as soon as it happens. So but it takes some time. It waits for the it waits sometimes, and then only it is going to send the update. Okay, our configuration has been completed. So now let's move into the Palo Alto 1. Here I'm going to the network tab and virtual routers. I think it's before that I want to show you something. In this virtual router, I'm going to more runtime stats, and I'm going to BGP section. I'm going to peer. Here you can see we have one peer configured, but the status is connect. So if the status is established, that is fine. But if the status is connect, that means it has not been, the connection has not been completed. So let's move into Palo Alto 1, and let's go to default virtual router and go to BGP. Let's enable it. Let's use IP address 10.0.1.2. that is my IP address of the tunnel interface, and AS number should be the same, 64,512, since we are using IBGP. And our second option is peer group. In here, let's say peer group. You can use whatever name you like, and here we are going to change it to IBGP, and I'm going to configure the peer. This is remote. Our peer is remote firewall, and the PAS is 64,512, since it's IBGP. The interface would be tunnel 1, the IP address would be 10.0.1.2, the peer IP address would be 10.0.1.1. okay, we are done with the peer. So now I'm going to click OK and hit OK, and I'm going to click commit. Let's wait for the commit to be done. So once the commit is done, so we should be able to see the status of the routing protocol connection should be the established. Status should be established if we have configured everything perfectly. So let's wait for a second. Okay, let's go to remote file and let's check whether we have that expected status here. Yeah, we are done. It shows as established, so that means our neighbor relationship has been completed, and we have done the configuration perfect manner. Here also we can check peer. Yeah, it says established. Our next step is to configure BGP in between the remote firewall and the Palo Alto 2 firewall. So let's start the configuration on remote firewall first. Here we have to go to virtual routers, and from the virtual router we have to go to BGP section, and I'm going back again to BGP peer groups. In this peer group we can configure another peer. Let's say PA2. Then our AS number, PAS number is already there, 64,512. And then we have to select the interface. The interface would be tunnel 2 and the IP address would be 192.168.200.1. The peer address would be 192.168.200.2. So just click OK. That's it. So now I'm going to click OK and click finish. Okay, click OK. So, now let's commit it. It's done. So now I'm going to Palo Alto 2 firewall. So let's start BGP configuration Palo Alto 2. Here we have to go to virtual routers, default virtual router. Here BGP, and we have to enable the routing protocol, and we have to enter the route ID. Let's say 192.168.200.2, and AS number should be the same since we are using IBGP here. So 64,512, and then we have to create a peer group. Let's say peer group, and from the drop down we must select IBGP, and we have to create a peer. This should be we are peering our Palo Alto 2 firewall with the remote firewall, so I'm using remote. You can use whatever the name you want, but for the identification purposes I'm using the exact name of the firewall. Peer autonomous system number is 64,512, since it is we are using IBGP, and the tunnel IP interface is the tunnel 1, because we are using IPSec tunnels in order to peer the Palo Alto firewalls using BGP. The IP address would be 192.168.200.2, and the IP of the remote firewall is 192.168.200.1. Now we are done with that, so let's click OK. OK. Yes, OK. Now we are going to click commit. So let's go back to the diagram. In this diagram, because I have recreated the diagram in order, because otherwise it's not going to be be clear, so I have recreated the diagram. So here we have BGP already established here. Now we apply, we have just configured the BGP for this IPSec tunnel. So let's check whether our configuration is fine and perfect. Let's go to more runtime stats. So not the whole SPF, but BGP peer. Yeah, it's done. So that means our second peering also working correctly. So then let's configure route advertisements, because even though we have configured neighbor relationships, we haven't advertised any routes yet. So let's go to PA or the remote firewall. From the remote file we have to go to network tab and virtual routers. In the virtual router, default virtual router, here we have BGP tab, and this is the most important tab, that is redistribution rules, because here we are going to advertise our trust interface. First I'll show you the trust interface. This is the trust interface, because there's a virtual machine, we have a virtual machine. Let's log into virtual machine first, that is remote VM dot open. Let's change the font size. Okay, let's log in. Mahesh. This is my virtual machine. This is placed behind the remote firewall, and also we have another virtual machine that is behind these two firewalls, PA1 and PA2. Let's log into that as well. That is prod VM load open. Let's change the font size. 16 would be fine. Apply. Let's log in. Okay, there's the second VM. Actually, my plan is to initiate a ping request from remote VM. This is the remote VM into this prod VM. This is a prod VM. I think it's better if you can check the diagram first. This is the remote VM, and this is the prod VM. Our prod VM IP address is 192.168.1.70/27. So that means the network would be, I think it's important that we write down the network before going into configurations. Let's write down the network. Let's write net 192.168.1.64/27, I think. Yeah, because when it comes to 27 subnet mask, we have 5 host bits. So 5 means 32 IP addresses in a one network. So 0 to 31 is the first network, and 32 to 63 is the second network. Then 64 to 95 would be the third network. So since this IP address is 70, so our network should be 192.168.1.64/27. That is the network. Okay, so then let's initiate a ping request from remote VM first. 168.1.70. As you can see that the initiated ping is not successful. So then let's go to remote VM because we have to check whether our remote VM routing table does have the destination network in place. So let's go to more runtime stats. Here we should be able to see 192.168.1.64 in order to make this ping successful, but you can see that we do not have that routing entry. So in order to create that routing entry, we have to advertise 192.168.1.64 network from PA1 and the PA2, because here we have two paths. We have one path, this path, and that path. Remote VM, remote Palo Alto firewalls to PA1, that is one path. Remote Palo Alto firewall to PA2, that is the second path. So let's advertise from PA1. Here we have to go to virtual router default, and we have to go to BGP. This redistribution rules, that is the most important tab when it comes to route advertisements. Let's add distribution rule. Here we have to create a redistribution profile. In this scenario, we have to advertise our trust interface. This interface, not the interface, but the network. We have to advertise the network in order to create a routing entry in remote Palo Alto firewall. So here we are going to advertise connected interface. So that is connect. So that is a trust interface. So in that scenario, I'm using the name trust. We can use whatever the name. The priority would be valid when we have several redistribution profiles, but in this scenario we do not have several profiles, but we must use a value. So I'm using priority 1, and then the interface should be the Ethernet 1/2. So here we have to change the option to redistribute in order to make it active, and I'm clicking OK. I'm clicking OK. Here I have to show you something. Once I'm clicking OK, it says operation failed, default protocol BGP redistribution rules invalid. I have no idea why this happens, because all the time when I use redistribution rules, this happens. Because here the name trust is not reflected. So what I have to do is I have to go back to the redistribution rule, and I have to click OK again. So then now you can see the name. Now you can click OK, and you can commit. The commit operation is being performed. Now you can see our commit operation has been completed. So now what we have to do is we have to go to remote file and check whether the route has been learned or not. Let's check. The network should be 192.168.1.64/27, but you can see that we do not have such a route in the routing table. Actually, I have to show you some another configuration that should be done before those entries will be inserted into the routing table. Before that, I'll show another thing. We have to go to BGP. This is routing table, but we are going to BGP table. This is BGP, and we can go to local routing information base. See, you can see in the local routing information base, we can see the advertised network. This is 192.168.1.64/27. The next stop would be 10.0.1.2. So let's go to Palo Alto 1 and we can check the interface with the IP address matches. Yeah, it's 10.0.1.2. So that means our advertisement has been learned from the remote firewall, which was advertised from Palo Alto 1. But the only thing is it has not been inserted into the routing table. In order to insert into the routing table, we have to do a configuration. We have to go to BGP. Here we have to select the install route, because by default it is unchecked. We have to click it to check it. So now I'm clicking OK. I'm committing the configurations. So the configuration is being performed. I mean the commit is being performed. Let's wait for configuration to be committed. Yeah, it's 55%, 75%, 98%. Let's wait. Yeah, so almost completed. 99%. Yeah, it's done. So now we can check the routing table. Go to here. Let's check whether we have. Yeah, it's done. We have 192.168.1.64/27, 10.0.1.2. It says this is B means BGP, A means active. You have another question mark and all, but in this demonstration I'm not going to explain you all the theories related to BGP, because I'm planning for another BGP theory video or the demonstration. Here in this tutorial also I'm planning to divide this into two parts, because in first part I'm just advertising routes using these firewalls, and I'm enabling the ping request to be successful, but I'm not going to tweak anything, because in order to tweak the best path, I can change several attributes in BGP routing protocol, such as weight, local preference. There are so many, but in this video I'm only going to advertise the network. In second video I'm planning for the tweaking of BGP attributes. Okay, so let's go to remote VM and let's try to, not this is broad VM. Let's go to remote VM. But we can see even though we have advertised the network, it is not successful, the ping request. And one thing I had to let you know that in the firewalls I have already placed the security rule in order to allow the access or allow the ping request any access, and also I have placed a NAT rule, because here I need a NAT rule. I think I have already explained you. In this diagram we have two separate firewalls, Palo Alto 1 and Palo Alto 2. When it comes to prod VM, this prod VM must have a default gateway, but in this scenario we can't have a one default gateway since we have two firewalls. So what I have done is when the traffic initiated from remote VM, it should go to remote PA, and then the path would be selected according to the BGP best path selection mechanism. So then the ping request would come to PA1 or PA2. It depends on the best path. So let's say for example, let's say that a ping request has come to PA1. So then it will send the request to the prod VM. So once the ping request reaches the prod VM will send the response packet. But in order to send the response back to the remote PA and to the remote VM, this prod VM should have a default gateway. But in this scenario, we can't have a specific default gateway since we have two Palo Alto firewalls here. So what I have done is I have NAT, source NAT. This ping request source IP, the source IP would be the 172.16.1.69, that is remote VM IP, into this PA1 and PA2. If let's say this time the request comes to the PA1, I'm source netting 172.16.1.69 IP into 192.168 that is a trust interface of the Palo Alto 1 firewall. So then this prod VM sees this traffic initiated from the Palo Alto firewall itself. So then return traffic would be sent back to the Palo Alto 1. So then the Palo Alto 1 can send the packets to remote PA and then to the remote VM. So that is the mechanism being used here. So I just explained you because otherwise you will be confused about the default gateway and all regarding prod VM. I think that's clear now. That's what I showed to you. This is that net rule. The source address 172.16.1.69. So that is this IP, this remote VM IP. So I'm source netting into Palo Alto 1. This is Palo Alto 1 trust interface. And when it comes to Palo Alto 2, the scenario is the same. Here we have a security rule in place, and in net rules we have this net rule 172.16.1.69 will be netted to the trust interface of the Palo Alto 2 as well. Okay. Since we have already advertised our PA1 prod VM network into remote firewall, let's check whether we can see the ping success. No, actually we can't see any ping success there. So actually I think the troubleshooting should be systematic. So let's go to remote VM. Let's go to monitor. Let's wait for the logs to be loaded. Yeah, see now time is 143. Okay, fine. So we can see the traffic initiated from trust interface or the so on to the PA1 path. So that means remote firewalls to Palo Alto 1. The traffic has been sent. The source IP is 172.16.1.69. So that is our remote VM. Let's change the color of this. So yeah, that IP is this. That is our remote VM. Then our destination is 192.168.1.70. So that is our prod VM. It's here. Is the cursor? Okay, it's here. This one. We can see, let's check the byte sent and received. We can see the byte sent. We have byte sent, but we can't see any byte received. So that means the traffic has been sent to the Palo Alto 1, but we haven't received any return traffic to remote Palo Alto via the Palo Alto 1. So then let's go to Palo Alto 1. Let's check the traffic. Wait. Okay. We can see traffic has been received from 172.16.1.69 to 192.168.1.70. Let's check the bytes. Yeah, we see byte sent, we have byte sent, we have byte received. So that means I'll draw the path. Here traffic generated from the remote PM has been sent to the remote PA, and then remote PA forward traffic to Palo Alto 1, because since the remote Palo Alto has learned this network, this network. So that this network via BGP. So because of that, remote Palo Alto firewall sent the traffic to the Palo Alto 1. So the Palo Alto 1 has sent the traffic to prod VM, and prod VM sent the return traffic. Let's change the color in order to draw the return traffic. The prod VM here, okay, prod VM has sent the return traffic back to the Palo Alto 1. So that's why we can see a byte received here. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to diagram. Okay. Here the problem is, let's go to remote firewall again. We can see that we cannot see any return traffic, return bytes. So that means in this diagram, this Palo Alto 1, okay, this Palo Alto 1 does not know the path to send the return traffic back to remote Palo Alto firewall. So actually this is not here now. I mean, this Palo Alto routing table does not have any idea about this remote VM network or this remote Palo Alto firewall trust network. So then we have to advertise that network into this advertisement into Palo Alto 1. Okay, route advertisement. So let's do it right now. Let's go to remote. Before that, we'll check the routing table of Palo Alto 1 firewall. Here you can see that we don't have any 172.16.1.64/27 network. So that is the remote firewall trust interface network. And let's check the routing BGP table. In BGP table also we do not have such a route. So let's go to remote firewall network and virtual routers. Go to default virtual router, BGP, and redistribution rules. Here we have to add a one. We have to go to redistribution profiles, and here I'm using the same name as trust. And here this is because since I'm advertising remote firewall trust interface, it is connected 1 and interface is 1/2. In the diagram I'll show it to you. Actually I'm advertising this interface because this interface in the same subnet as the remote VM. So if I can advertise that interface, that is the solution. So I'm advertising, and here I do put a priority, and here I'm changing it to distribute option. It's redistribute option. Okay, click OK, and here I'm clicking OK. Here also I can see the same issue, the name is empty, so I'm going back and I'm clicking again. Now it's fine, so I'm clicking OK and I'm committing. OK. I had to wait for the commit to be done. Oh, it's 75%, 98%. It's almost done. 99%. Okay, configuration committed successfully. Close. So let's go to PA1. In PA1 I can check whether routing table has that entry 172.16.1.64, but we do not have that. But let's go to BGP table, local rip. We do see here 172.16.1.64. Our issue is actually here we have to enable insert route in BGP options. Let's go to BGP, install route. Okay, and I'm clicking OK. Before committing, I'm double checking whether I have ping responses. I don't have. I'm just committing. While commit is being done, let's see the our remote VM shell, whether we are getting ping responses once the commit is done. The ping, I mean the commit has already been done, but 2% to be gone. Yeah, we can see the ping, it's done. So that means our network advertisements are okay. So here we should be able to see, you can see here 172.16 1.64. so that means let's go to diagram. Here the route advertisement for both the firewalls, I mean both the networks. This network, this I'll take another color. Let's say purple. Not purple, it's pink, right? Okay, this network has been advertised using a remote firewall into the Palo Alto 1. This network, that is our prod VM network, has been advertised from Palo Alto 1 to remote Palo Alto. Okay, now our routing is okay. Here I had to tell you that I'm not going to tweak any path, so I'm not going to enable routing, I mean BGP on Palo Alto 2, because I'm planning to do it in the next video, because we have to tweak Palo BGP attributes in order to change the best path. We have so many configurations to be done. Because if I'm going to do it right now, this video will be a lengthy one, so I don't want it to be happen. So I think you have learned something from my BGP configuration video. Thank you so much for your time.